Welcome to the 2019 Chesterfield State of the Township Address. I'm going to share some of my vision and some of our accomplishments and some of the things that we're doing, upcoming projects into the future. I am so proud of this township, and I am so proud of this team and what we do. We are township government. We are the tip of the sword. We are at the most personal, basic level. Cities, townships. However, to run an operation as a township government, having partners at all levels, and they're just as dysfunctional as sometimes our local governments are, as we see every day in the news, our federal partners. I want to acknowledge our congressmen and our 2 U.S. senators. Party doesn't matter, affiliation doesn't matter when I call and need them for a transportation issue, or a funding issue, or a federal government issue, or a Selfridge Air National Guard base issue, or waterways issues that fall under federal jurisdiction. Selfridge Air National Guard base. It goes without saying the importance of that base, not only to Macomb County, its history, but to Chesterfield Township. Nothing is more comforting than looking out my window in this office, and when I was home in this township during 9/11, and watching those planes and that strength in the security of them to the south. Those partners we cannot overlook, and they're vitally important to have relationships there to get the type of things done that we need. So I wanted to acknowledge them. General Slocum, I don't know how many of you have had the honor of being in his company. He had 35 years in the U.S. Air Force. November 14th, he was in charge of Selfridge Air Force Base in the 127th Wing. What a spirit and a love of Macomb and that base. He is going to be moving on, and I did want to acknowledge him. Many, many quotes from him, so personable, and he will be around Macomb County, and he will not be gone. But that quote I like the best. It was at the end of a long dissertation about his service, and it's always about the people. And I just wanted to give him some acknowledgement. Thank you, General Slocum, for your service. State partners. We also rely on our state legislature, also dysfunctional, like at times, as you see. Senator Lucido and Representative Hornberger, along with Michigan Department of Transportation, the DNR, when it comes to wildlife issues, and the newly created, I'm not quite used to it yet, EAGLE, Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, formerly known as the DEQ and some other acronyms. County government, it would be the next step up. We cannot function without Public Works and the Drain Commission. We all saw what happened with the MID several years ago in our county drain system. That's a partnership and relationships we must have. County roads. I will do a little section when I move forward on roads, and our road issues cannot be solved without the county because they own a majority of these roads. Our County Commissioner Phil Craft as well. School districts, no community, I don't care if it's an inner city in Detroit, I don't care if it's Chesterfield, no community can be strong without a solid public school system. A solid public school system is a very important piece to any community's health. We have 3 of them. We're blessed to have 3 of them in Macomb, or in Chesterfield Township. We have L'Anse Creuse, Anchor Bay, and New Haven. Yesterday, when I gave this address to folks at Zuccaro's, I had the honor of having this gentleman, Romeo Weems, as my guest. He is the 2019 Mr. Basketball. His resume on the court is ongoing and impressive, and he is a Chesterfield Township resident. The most impressive thing about this individual is when you have the God-given talents that Romeo has, you have opportunities to go to prep schools. You have multiple chances to leave Chesterfield and the New Haven School District. This young man chose to stay. This young man chose to make his mark here, and I think it needed acknowledgement. First ever Macomb County Mr. Basketball in the history of the award, and I couldn't be prouder. Mr. Dean, I lost a bet this year. Everyone knows I bleed maize and blue. I was a cheerleader there from 91 to 95. The basketball program there is where my heart is, but I can assure you, wherever this young man's career leads him, which next year it will be leading him to DePaul University after a stint with the U.S. Junior Olympic team. Wherever his career leads, I'll bleed maize and blue, but I will forever be a Romeo Weems fan and thank him for staying in Chesterfield and making this his home. We're here to talk about Chesterfield Township, though. The Board of Trustees, I'm giving the presentation, and I am, been in this position for 2.5 years, but this township government is run by a board, and it's run by a team. Clerk Cindy Berry, her office, their effort and work on elections. Mary Gomez, the best elections coordinator and specialist in town. Thank you. Records management and the agendas. Thank you. Treasurer LaFata, I will get to the treasurer's office and assessing later in the program, along with our trustees. Brian Scott Dominguez sitting in the middle chair. Thank you. Trustee Hank Anderson, Trustee Kathy Vosberg, and Trustee David Joseph. What does local government do? When I walked in the door 2 years ago, in 2016, and under very unfortunate circumstances for our county and our township, what is our focus? What is our mission as a local government? It gets blurred with the phone calls, and it gets blurred with the complications of which level of government has jurisdiction over what, especially when it comes to roads or waterways or wetlands or development. Our focus, I broke down into 5 general areas. First, to provide safe streets. Second, to provide reliable utilities, coordinate with transportation and stormwater management, to provide abundant and safe recreational activities for all. We owe it to our residents to ensure that our government is efficient, is thinking out of the box, is constantly evolving for best practices, and we must ensure that we are a competitive and attractive place for investors to come into and for people to live. Those 5 focus areas. Everything that I've done and tried to do is focused on those general areas. Public safety. Their specific focus area is to provide dependable, responsive service 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, every day. Provide a highly trained and qualified team dedicated to service to our community. Our responsibility as a board and as leaders is to provide them with long-term stability, which we did not have from 2010 until 2017. We had uncertainty. And I also charge them with continuing to push for best practice and efficiencies wherever they can. Why? Why is this such an important thing for local government to do? I think this video answers that question.
Got one going the wrong way in 23, guys.
If that doesn't make the hair on the back of your head stand up, knowing that this family and my family and our loved ones drive that stretch of road daily, weekly, every day. That was on 23 Mile Road just east of I-94 this past February. I want to thank and recognize Sergeant Gary Kirkley. He was the individual in the pickup truck who disabled the vehicle that clearly was not going to understand he was going the wrong way down 23 Mile Road. He acted in a manner that he didn't have a whole lot of time to think, but he knew there was a threat. He saw an opportunity to neutralize that threat, and it's actions like that is the reason why public safety is so important. Round of applause for him, and I wish he was here. What have we been doing? Upgrading equipment. $1.7 million in the last couple years, refurbishing the aerial truck and making sure that our team has got the best possible equipment. We've been working on service upgrades on the technical end. Just this year, a Lucas CPR device to help our fire team with first responders, and upgrading technology in a number of areas, but I'm highlighting the gimbal GPS portion of this in crash reconstruction. One, it's more efficient. Two, the data is much better to determine fault and to potentially make changes down the road, either with our roadways or with signage with the other partners at the federal and state level. Another enhancement, as of the last meeting, is the inclusion of a community medic and medical first response unit with our partner, MedStar. MedStar has also added life flight emergency partnership. When necessary, there can be a helicopter mobilized to ensure that we are doing everything in our power to get that customer, that person in need, into a hospital and a place to try to save lives. Fire station number one. Been a lot of talk in the last several years about facilities and specifically for police facilities. I was very unhappy with the condition of our structures, our facility, and our capital. And this is one that came to mind after tons of work and data. Fire station number one on 22 Mile Road is our highest volume station. It is in the most efficient, clearly in the best location. And our personnel is a full-time firefighting team, and they're in a facility that is not equipped for full-time firefighters, 24 hours a day, 365. This upgrade will be starting this fall. I'm gonna do another transition again because I really like that. Existing fire station, we're gonna be adding bays, adding sleeping quarters, legitimate sleeping quarters, and updating that facility. Yes, we are investing in our in our actual physical structures and locations. Dispatch. This, our public safety department in 2018 processed 38,000 total calls. And our partnership with New Baltimore is vital on our dispatch team. There's plenty of more synergies with neighboring communities. There's barriers to those synergies, but this is one with our friends in New Baltimore that is, works for both sides. And I've been pushing for more synergies. I've been pushing for more partnerships, not only with New Baltimore, but with some of our other neighboring communities as well. This is one that it tugs at my heartstrings every day. The opioid crisis and this trend from 11 to 17 and 18, the trend keeps going up. The deaths occurring because of the drug epidemic, opioids, and addiction is something that does not discriminate. It doesn't discriminate against socioeconomic status. It doesn't discriminate against where you live. It doesn't discriminate against who you are or who you know. Yesterday I was so honored to see Judge Linda Davis. This is something that I worked on when I was in the legislature in the drug court system, and watching Judge Linda Davis's resolve of how you deal with this problem and how our society is evolving to helping the individual instead of criminalizing this behavior is something that we need to be involved with. And our public safety team has limited tools, but we are using those tools. I'll say this, Trustee David Joseph, we have a ton of issues that we do not agree on that'll be in this presentation and that we've seen in the last several years. This is one that we do agree on. And this is one that his job every day is helping these individuals. Our Chesterfield Township team, public safety team, is a part of Phantom, Federal Anti-Narcotics Team of Macomb, with the DEA, Clinton Township, Sterling Heights, City of Warren, Macomb County, and U.S. Customs. We're doing everything in our power. The most upsetting news, and it is just news, we've had a lot of bad, unfortunate public official behavior. The latest news, if there is any funds that should be going to fight this opioid crisis that is not going to deal with the drunk driving situation that kills, that has a direct impact on our residents, or can go to opioids, that is something that must be reversed. Our public safety team, to wrap up, yes, we're investing in equipment and technology enhancements. Yes, we're upgrading and renovating facilities, desperately needed. Yes, we're enhancing our services through MedStar, increased services and in additions of technology and all the other things I ran through. The public safety budget is finally stable. We're the days of general fund transfers, failed millages, and scrambling for our job as elected leaders, ensuring that this team is well-equipped, well-funded, and sustainable, are over. And yes, I expect to present to the board a decrease in the public safety millage in the very near future. One thing I do want to say is, you go to a police department and professionals, they're working, but there's an individual right back there, Bob Smith, that has been here 19 years. His spirit, his smile, and I just want to thank him for your service and for always being there. Thank you, Bob. Oh, I'm not done with public safety. I thought those were great pictures, and they'll become relevant in a minute. On May 8th, I came back to my office, and I was greeted with a voicemail from Vicki Brown, who lived at 4777 Jefferson. She was one of 3 children. and her husband worked at Selfridge. And I heard this.
55 years ago today, that tornado ravaged New Baltimore and Chesterfield Township. I'm one of the survivors living in Colorado Springs. Just thought I'd remind everybody of that.
I called Vicki back. I Googled her house. There's a new structure there now, and I had a 20, 30-minute conversation with her. And what a great conversation. That this event, although 55 years ago, it was a major public safety event for our township. And to have that phone call was something I felt needed recognition. It ties in with this public safety team, it ties in with emergency management and our public works and the entire situation and mission as to why we are here. This tornado, that's the difference in shoreline. I found these photos which I thought needed to be shared. The amount of destruction that tornado did in 30 seconds at 4:59 p.m. on May 8th, 1964. I was not born at that point. Thousands residents were left homeless. 46 homes were destroyed. 108 homes were severely damaged. We lost 13 lives with 75 serious injuries. May 8th, 1964. Mother Nature has a mind of her own. We will be prepared, and I thought this event needed recognition, especially in light of that phone call. Public safety open house at the police department this Saturday. I recommend spread the word because they do a fantastic job with everything they do for the kids in the community, and that's coming up. I've wrapped up public safety in a little bit of time. I'm going to move on to public works. In one word, public works focus area is infrastructure. The public works focus area is to provide clean drinking water to our residents, to properly dispose of sanitary sewer, to ensure that we're protecting our environment with that sanitary sewer and getting it to a treatment plant and not into our lakes and rivers. Assisting in stormwater management, which I'll touch on. That's our drains, that's our waterways, that's our rivers, and that's Anchor Bay. Cooperating with MDOT and the Macomb County Department of Roads on the second high call volume to our office, and that is the deplorable and ridiculous condition of our roadways and infrastructure. And to coordinate with public utilities, gas, electric, and those folks. Those are private companies, but coordination is done by that team. Our infrastructure is our most valuable real asset. We have other valuable assets the most valuable assets, the people and the team, but the hard infrastructure, it's more expensive than the structures, it's more expensive than the land, it's more expensive than the buildings. 240 miles of water main, over 2,600 gate wells, all of which live in a concrete structure or a valve box that need adjustment, that need work and care every single year. 3,000 fire hydrants, 5 pressure reducing vaults that are used to reduce the pressure from Great Lakes so that our system can handle that waterway. That's just water. Sanitary sewer, 135 miles of sanitary sewer, and this is the map. You're going to see some gaps here in red that I'll touch on in a little bit. Over 4,800 manhole structures, 7 pump stations that need care, that need constant upkeep. This is a mechanical system that pumps the sewer up so that gravity can take it to the treatment plant safely. And 3 meter stations so that Macomb County can bill us in the mid for the amount of sewer we're dumping into that system. Roads, I don't know if we need to touch on that. Last year, I will be touching on it later. That picture says it all. Last year I spent about half of this presentation on roads. And this year I will touch on it, but it won't be in that much detail. However, water levels, I decided to show a quick video on what we've dealt with here in the last couple weeks. Lake St. Clair is at historically high levels right now, at or near the 1986 high water event. The Army Corps of Engineers is projecting the potential for an additional 6 to 12 inches of natural lake level rise till July. This is just a potential, and this is just projected. We're currently at historically high levels. That doesn't include the other events, the impacts on our water levels related to rain, weather, and wind direction, all of which are unpredictable and all of which affect different areas of our community and the 3 other lakefront communities in Macomb County differently, depending on which way the wind's coming, where the waves are coming and hitting the shore, which canals they're going up. Coordination of efforts in the last several weeks between the Macomb County Emergency Management Team, Macomb County Department of Roads, the Macomb County Public Works Office, dealing with our drains and the pumps that they have on their system, the Army Corps of Engineers at the federal level, most importantly, second most importantly, Chesterfield Township team, the Public Works and Public Safety team, along with all of us. But the most important piece of the puzzle is the residents and the property owners. One thing that's been made very, very clear is, yes, we have the Macomb County Emergency Management folks. Yes, we need the Macomb County Department of Roads. Yes, we're going to need the Drain Commission. Yes, the Army Corps of Engineers. It may be necessary. But it was made very clear to me by all those entities that we're on our own, unless if something substantially changes. So the residents protecting their property, taking the initiative to lessen this impact. Be prepared, whether it be for what does 6 inches mean? I have a spinning laser in the back of my truck, and I have been checking a lot of hot spots, which I'll run over some of them to see this is where we're at now. What does 6 inches mean for our roadways? What does 6 inches mean for a structure? As a government, we cannot spend money on private property. This is primarily going to fall on the residents. We are here to assist, which we are doing. Sandbagging operation as of last week, these numbers have gone up substantially since in the last week. This is less than 2 weeks worth of sandbags. Approximately 21,000 sandbags have been filled in coordination with our DPW team, and 350 tons of sand, which is approximately 700,000 pounds of sand. A couple locations where this operation is going on. One is at our DPW main facility. 2, and then we have sand also located at Brandenburg Park and on Jefferson. This will continue through the weekends. This weekend I think we're doing Saturday. Last weekend we did Saturday and Sunday, as long as it takes, and we will continue this effort. And I want to thank the entire public safety team for coordinating this piece of the puzzle, and the residents. Watching the residents, their spirit, their resolve, their work in doing this. Josh Sonnenberg and myself, we designed a couple of these 4-bag loaders and 8-bag loaders, and watching the residents and their appreciation of us providing this service has been great. I just urge the residents to keep it up. NOAA did walk our community. I want to make it very clear. They made it clear to us They're here in a technical position only. They can give technical advice. There will not be funding unless if there is a substantially different change, and substantially is not defined. So they did walk our community and talk about proper ways to place sandbags and where some potential hot spots could be. A couple quick areas of concern. If you drive down, this is M59 in Jefferson, heading north. An area at the Schmid Drain. This is a county drain that could potentially have a Jefferson Road impact with another 6 to 12 inches of water level raising. We're aware of it. We've been in contact with the county. There's a pump station that feeds into this facility. The county is maintaining that. The county is keeping it clean, so there's no upstream problems. And we're in touch with the Department of Roads. If 6 inches come from that level, we will have water over Jefferson. And there will be no way to get it out until the water recedes or some major infrastructure improvements occur. Most of the bigger areas of impact are on the south end of the township, but there are point areas all along. I just wanted to highlight that one. Our drains. We did start participating for the first time in the drain maintenance program with Candace Miller's office. What a breath of fresh air Candace Miller is for this county and this community. Every day you see where's the sheen coming in our drains. Cleaning up the drains. This happens to be right here behind this facility. This helps all that. When the lake levels are high, the drains get higher, the ditches get full. The upstream, the rain event water needs to be able to get out, or you have upstream issues. Participating in this program is vital to clean up and stop and ensure that that water is getting properly disposed of. An area of impact too, this one had multiple agencies involved. End of Schneider Lane at Bay Court. This area. It is in the northern part of the township. This is a combination infrastructure problem and heavy rain problem. The water had 5, 6, 7, 8 inches of road, 500 feet in each direction on 2 weeks ago from Tuesday, which was kind of a big event on Jefferson and a big rain event. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, after numerous phone calls to the county, this was a county road commission issue, but they were also dealing with the rest of the county, Harrison Township, St. Clair Shores, call after call after call, no response. 4 o'clock in the afternoon after a long day for Kevin Johnson and a long day for Don Coddington. They hooked up our 6-inch pump, mobilized to this site. Oopsie, I gotta go back to that. Uncovered the structure, put a 6-inch pump in there and let it run. After 6 hours, the level barely went down. Well, why? The infrastructure is allowing the lake water to enter this location, but it's not allowing the rainwater to go out. So how we fix that after Kevin, Assistant Director Johnson being out there till 10 at night, back at 3 in the morning to check the pumps, was installing a sewer valve, a sewer plug into the pipe, stopping the backflow in from Lake St. Clair, pumping it out, and currently the Macomb County Road Commission is manning that site. I really want to commend Kevin and JR and that whole team. What they do with this infrastructure is hard, it's ongoing, and it is of utmost importance. A quick thing on a big round of applause for those guys. For 2 reasons. One, I need a quick break for a drink of water. If I could share with you too on the drain system. We have 48 miles of drains in Chesterfield Township. Here's our drain map. And that does not include the navigable waterways that do not fall under Macomb County jurisdiction. If they're navigable, Salt River up to 23 Mile Road, this creek right out here, if they're navigable, they're state and federal jurisdictions. 48 miles that have frankly been neglected for many, many years. Cleaning them out, using them as an asset is of the utmost importance. And I can't thank Candace Miller again, and I know it's the second time I mentioned her. Our county drain system, everybody can participate. This is an event that's impacting the waterfront primarily, and some inland waters from there. However, we can all participate. These drain easements are designed, the newer ones with a shelf, to hold water during high water situations. They're designed for that, so that the water doesn't end up in basements or in doing damage to structures and facilities. Everybody can contribute by keeping these drain easements cleaned of trash and debris and of structures. During high water, heavy rain events, that debris ends up in the lake with devastating effects on our environment. We all can participate, and that's something that I think is going to continue, we're going to continue to move forward on. Roads. There are 3 different jurisdictions of roads in a township. In this township, I guess. Roads are either owned by the Michigan Department of Transportation. These are obvious ones. I-94, 23-mile road, Gratiot. We have approximately 70 lane miles of MDOT roadways and some structures that all need help, and these are all on I-94. 4 full interchanges. You know where they are. 1 partial interchange at Washington and 1 overpass at Cotton. We do not have a safe way for pedestrians to get across I-94. It's been a problem for 20 years when I was in the legislature. It is a hard nut to crack, but it is one that we will get to. That will happen here. You go south, every other community south has got a way, at least one way under or over, and that will happen in this community. Coordinating with the county and the federal government and all the other agencies, getting there is going to be difficult. But it is something that's on my concern. The next area for road ownership is Macomb County Department of Roads. 150 miles of roads owned by the Macomb County Department of Roads. We also have private roads. These are owned by private individuals. These are, for example, if you go to Dick's Sporting Goods in Waterside, that is a private road. One issue, one name that's not on this list is townships. A township government in Michigan does not have jurisdiction, ownership, or authority to work on and solve problems with these roads. It's been like this forever. There's an old act called PA 51 of 1951. You're hearing it being bantered around at the state level. Doesn't mean that we can't participate, which we are, in cooperation with these agencies, and we must be a part of the solution. One piece that's changed very recently is the Michigan Department of Roads Regravel program. 2 years ago, after just about getting stuck on many of our gravel roads in our township, after multiple phone calls to the county, maintain them, grade them, gravel, and watching that they can't grade them because there's no road. I've seen 2 tracks that are in better shape than a lot of the roadways here. After much communication, I stumbled across their re-gravel program that was never available to Chesterfield Township. Historically available to the northern 6 communities in Macomb County. Last year, we got included into this program for 1 mile. We have 15 miles worth of roads. This was last year's work. Worth of gravel roads that would qualify for this. These are roads that got rebuilt with gravel for the first time in 40, 50 years. Now you can maintain them. Now we're going to be able to grade them. However, it's going to take some time because there's limited resources, and there was participation from the township. We got 3 miles this year. So we're going to keep plugging away at these gravel roads. Thank you to the Macomb County Department of Roads, 1, for including us in this program, and 2, for having this program at all. There was a match from the township, and I want to thank the township board for participating in that 10% match. So we are doing what we can do. The other way that we must participate, and one of the only tools we have, is special assessment districts. Dean and I, a year and a half ago, this process has got to be clear. This process has got to be concise, easy for residents to come in and initiate these special assessment districts. We created a guide and an administrative procedure order that streamlined this process. The Macomb County Department of Roads does have a 50-50 match program. The special assessment district pays 50%. and the county pays 50%. We are going to be included for 2 projects this year for the first time. It's a start. Out of 150 miles, we're going to get maybe 5/8 of a mile done in the subdivision category, and we maybe have 75 miles that are going to need this in the next 10 years. But we're starting, and it's very encouraging. Jefferson Road Bridge, we all know it's under construction. It has started, it's in the construction stage right now. When it is complete, it's going to be aesthetically pleasing. It's going to have a pedestrian path. And it will have a slight increase in clearance. The inconvenience on our motoring traffic is going to be horrendous. It already is, especially coupled with the Michigan Department of Transportation project on 23 Mile Road that will have periodic lane closures on and off throughout the summer. That will be on and off. 2 different road agencies. One is the Macomb County Department of Roads, which is in charge of the bridge project. One is the Michigan Department of Transportation, in charge of 23 Mile Road. The coordination of those, we get phone calls on. The logistics of building these heavy infrastructure projects at all the levels of government make it impossible to delay one and not have overlapping services. It is frustrating when I look at what these 2 projects are causing and where the impact is. And frankly, it's everywhere, but one area of concern is the overpass on Washington by Pollard Park. So ironically, there's going to be a widening there and a ease on the left turns onto I-94. We kind of need it done now, but it won't be done until next year. Coordinating all these things are very interesting. Public works equals infrastructure. Infrastructure equals our most valuable asset as a local government when it comes to a real asset. And it's this team, every day, maintaining that infrastructure. And mistakes here don't cost hundreds or thousands years from now. They could cost millions, making the wrong move. Next focus area, making sure we are a competitive place to invest in. The focus of this team, Gary DeMaster and Jonathan Palin, is to ensure developments are safe and compatible with our community. Compatible with our community. Coordinating with investors on their designs. Reviewing, approving, and inspecting these projects. And the uniform and fair enforcement of all building and zoning codes. Dave Demick and Nancy Walsh, they've got a job that is unbelievably difficult. And I watch them do it with class and with integrity, tough when they need to be, compassionate when they can be. And I thank both of them so much for doing what they do. Gary DeMaster, I'll put Gary up against any building administrator in this state. He is a fantastic advocate for not only this community, the trade and his craft. Our planning director, Jonathan Palin, and Mitch O'Connor, our engineer. We have streamlined and simplified the permitting and construction process. We have identified ordinances, and I want to continue to do so, that are throwing up barriers to common sense policies and improvements to our community. I'd also like to welcome our new planning consultant, Giffords Webster, and Rod Aurora to this vitally important team. Residential building permits. Without good, solid, steady, sustainable growth, which we are blessed to have here in Chesterfield Township, the finances of our entire government doesn't work. The finances comes from tax base. The finance comes from fees and people living here, businesses locating here. This trend is disturbing until you get to where we are now. This was the collapse, the 10-year collapse in new construction. Where we're at now is a solid place to be. 200 to 300 new housing starts a year, and this doesn't count for the the larger multifamily folks and the commercial and industrial. This steady, sustainable growth, ensuring it's compatible with our community, is vital to the entire mission. Just as much as public safety is when someone's going the wrong way down 23 Mile, and just as much as the infrastructure is when a pump station goes down. I'd like to welcome just a short list of some of the newer businesses that have opened up recently, along with some of the coming soons within the next year. One more short video so I can grab a Seville Manor. This project doesn't just happen. This enhancement, in addition to our community, just doesn't happen. Partners of all 4 levels for 2 years, federal, state, county, and us, to bring this facility, the Southeast Michigan Veterans Facility, to Chesterfield. This is its home. This is where it belongs, our location to Selfridge. And it just doesn't happen. What an addition and a use for that amazing piece of property. It's in its construction stage. The plan is encouraging open space and tree preservation, which you're seeing with a tremendous amount of this is a state government project. It is not owned by the federal government anymore. The federal government had to sell the piece through BRAC to the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. It's a state project. You see, it looks like a horse farm out there with the amount of tree preservation. I couldn't be happier that they're doing that. The structures, the trees on this location and the character are priceless, and this plan is going to allow to preserve the most amount of open space. This plan is going to allow a very compatible use for our community. The other plans, if this did not come through with all of the pieces coming together, and there was timelines and there were issues, this could have very easily ended up in Livingston County or in the city of Detroit. Both would have been great for our veterans. This is the best location for that. The bald eagle on this site. This plan preserves, and they're protecting that bald eagle as well as they can in coordination with all the agencies involved. Vitally important as I was getting involved with potential uses for this site, none of which would preserve the character like this operation will and honor our heroes. This is a game changer for Chesterfield. This will put us in the conversation for 23 Mile Road and I-94 interchange improvements, for getting that safe way across I-94. Something like this, not only is it compatible, but it's going to help with all the other areas. A couple other developments, and there's too many to mention, and I thank them all, this location is Town Center Drive on the south end of the township. Has utilities, has sewer and water, and we all know it is currently home to Cabela's. There is some action happening on this site, 2 of which can be announced. One is a BJ's Wholesale. They're opening 3 stores in Michigan for the first time. It's very similar to a Costco and a Sam's Club. A couple other ones that are in the works that you could see in the very well future is a home goods store in Burlington, and there is going to be a ton of other commercial activity in this location. To ensure that we have that constant, steady growth, we have to talk about the Northwest District. Those 200 houses a year, 300 houses a year, the new developments, the new buildings is contingent on being development ready. And we have an area here that I've worked on for 2 years and have failed with this board, and I will be working on it again and again and again, because I think it is vitally important. Nothing else works if we cannot continue to provide sustainable growth. This is the Northwest Sewer District. We are currently performing a study. The blue is the Northwest Sewer District, which is approximately 1,700 acres. The yellow is a district as well. A study is being performed to see if these sewer districts can be designed smarter, and the master plan can be done in a better way to allow this infrastructure necessary, which is primary sanitary sewer in that entire portion of the township, 5 square miles. That does not have access to sanitary sewer, that needs it for new growth and development to continue. That study is being done right now. I will be presenting that and options to ensure that that area of our township is ready to be developed 2 years from now, when the parcels with sewer and water already available are already developed. Because as soon as we hit a wall of not having new construction, the finances change for our community. The finances change for our public safety department. The finances change for every service that we provide. The finances change for what and if we can reduce taxes to our residents, and if we can increase services. Steady growth and development is vital. Another area is the northeast portion over by 26 Mile by the high school in Anchor Bay. This entire portion will not be developed easily without sewer. And we're working on that as well, and I will continue to push that with the board, and I will push again and again and present that again and again, because I think it's that vitally important. We are an amazing place. Our location is fantastic. We have access to major interstates and roadways. We have a competitive tax structure. We have best practice procedures. And if they're not best practice, we will make them better. We encourage existing property improvements. Nothing is more satisfying than this change that we made, that the team made. This goes back years. We had facilities in some of our more mature areas up Gratiot and 23 Mile Road who wanted to repave their parking lots, who wanted to jazz up their property. But by the time they got done with the process, they maybe would have spent X. They could afford X in their business model. But our process 2 years ago required 10 times X. This isn't a new investor. This is an existing investor. This isn't somebody who has to repave their parking lot. These are users who want to repave their parking lot to help their customers, to help their facility. What we did is we streamlined that process for existing parcels to allow parking lots to be repaved. And you're going to start seeing them around town. This is addictive. Next thing you know, you see a new parking lot here. Well, the neighbor maybe will start cleaning up their dumpster and cleaning up the garbage and fixing the sidewalks. Vitally important, and we are constantly finding ways to get better. And we're breaking all the barriers to encourage compatible development. And that's the key, compatible development. This team's doing it, and this team's vital. Leisure services, Parks and Recreation, Amanda Willard, I don't know if she's here, but her whole team, when someone's going the wrong way down 23 Mile Road, public safety is the most important. When a pump station's down and sewers over and getting in someone's basement, DPW is the most important. I can tell you this much, with 2 kids, at 10 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon when the sun's out, this is pretty important. They're all equally important. Senior Center, very important part of this with Carol Rose and Amanda Smith. A library with Elizabeth working on a number of things for a potential new library location. In facilities management, we all know Josh's team. Years past, I've talked about the specifics and the programming of what they have done. I do want to say we are working on a master plan for Parks and Recreation. I want to move on to some specifics. One is Brandenburg Park. This park, although needs some updates and has been neglected for a little bit of time, this 17-acre park is, in my opinion, the jewel of Chesterfield Township. We have many. What a chunk of property. However, our shoreline has looked like this since 2014. Many options, all cost a lot of money. This was a huge priority of mine. Let's get this fixed. This is too important of an asset to leave in this condition, and do not let our residents cherish and use. In addition to Josh Sonnenberg, a couple years back, had this vision. This came from Josh Sonnenberg. This came from Director Sonnenberg. This is where it started. He brings that to me. How? I look at that and I see we need federal government jurisdiction. We need this, we need that. How do we possibly build something like that? So I got on the phone with the county, with the partners, with the federal government, with the state of Michigan, and said, you look at the Lake St. Clair Basin and what we have here in Chesterfield, to replace this seawall was a tremendous amount of money. I chased down grants trying to find a way to do this. They're not interested in replacing seawall because our entire basin has got hardened shorelines. Back 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, the thing to do was add seawalls. Well, now, as a society, we're looking at what that means for the environment in the basin, and it doesn't make sense. There's not an area to soften shorelines. So a new revived effort from the federal level and the state level, Great Lakes Commission, to find parcels of property that can be softened and restored back to a natural habitat environment are a priority. These projects usually take 10 years. These projects take decades to get the attention of the coastal community, of the state, of the folks in charge of preserving the Great Lakes. Started with Josh Sonnenberg's vision. Many phone calls were made. NOAA awarded us a grant, which we had to match $40,000 for last year, to design this shoreline softening project. The design is currently 60% complete. There's a very basic rendering of what it looks like. I'd like to thank the Chesterfield Township Board for getting us that far. Mr. Sonnenberg's vision, that's how it lays out over the design. That is almost complete from our partners at OHM, one of our new consulting engineers. Watching that happen, I'm sorry, I'm going to back up on this a little bit. The amount of work that went into this, watching it start from a vision and start from that, there's too many barriers, to finding those partnerships at all levels to get us to this point is so rewarding. We're not over the hump yet, and I cannot announce anything. All I can say is we have a very large, amazing piece of property that has a substantial amount of shoreline that folks at the levels that control the funding for something like this are very interested in. And you could see something on this in the extremely near future. Thank you, Josh Sonnenberg, Director Sonnenberg, not only for this, but multiple things. Brandenburg Park, staying on Brandenburg. No. Our tennis courts, yes, I'm glad we have them. Our basketball courts, yes, but no in the condition. This is what you're going to see by the end of the year. I will be bringing it to the board for consideration, hopefully by the fall of 2019, to continue this upgrade to Brandenburg. Weber Paddle Park, been very controversial on this board. It's been a very divisive issue. This property was donated by the Weber family several years ago. There's been some coordination issues with the construction of the Salt River Bridge, which is the right, smart way to construct this project. It was funded with help through the Department of Natural Resources. In 2015, that process started. Anderson, Eckstein, and Westrick is our partner on this one. And this project will be under construction and hopefully complete by fall of 2019, directly in coordination with the Jefferson Road Bridge, ready to use in 2020. We will be back to the board here. All these processes take time. When the grant says X, and X is a structure that is not compatible with what I feel like it needs, I'm going to be asking to make that structure better, to make it so it's long-lasting. That is a change that I am going to be requesting from the board to ensure that this parcel, which is primarily funded with a donation from an incredible philanthropist and resident and a DNR trust fund grant, is done to our expectations. And if Chesterfield Township needs to participate in those costs more, I'm going to be presenting that to the board, and I really hope I get their support. Another project I want to touch on in a video so I can take another drink of water. The Salt River Marsh. Salt River is one of those waterways that is under the jurisdiction of the state of Michigan and the federal government. It's a navigable waterway. We are in an amazing position when you look at other watersheds. Clinton River moves south. What we have in the Salt River watershed is the growth and development that happened on Clinton River. One is the size is small, and the growth and development that happened on the Clinton River way upstream in Oakland County and in older communities in the 30s, 40s, 50s, decades ago, happened at a time when the infrastructure was different. The sewers were combined. Storm sewer and sanitary sewer went in the same pipe. So now that for the last 40, 50 years, those two don't belong together. One belongs going to the lake and one belongs going to the treatment plant. The Salt River watershed, and we're blessed that it ends here in Chesterfield, is got clean, compatible development. We do not have substantial, if any, and if they exist, they're going to be solved, any sewer or overflow issues. We do not have pollution issues. We have got an opportunity as we develop upstream of this amazing waterway to make sure the water coming into it is clean and compatible with the environment. What we have now, though, that you saw in that video is the Salt River Marsh, which is a federal or state of Michigan owned parcel. This piece here, this oxbow. We have an area of the Salt River that's dead. We have an area of the Salt River that should be used to spawn pike, that should be used to spawn fish, that should be a healthy piece of our community. We've got to reclaim that Salt River. We have got to reclaim that section. It's too important to our ecosystem, for our community, and for that lake. Everything starts in a little drain. The water moves down. Microorganisms and life exists to ensure when the water pops out in a big lake, it's clean and everything's working. It's not working here. To improve the aquatic habitat here for this whole lake, there needs to be a restoration project. This is a couple years in the making. So that turns into that. Improve the water quality, improve our access, paddling, paddle boards, boats, improve the recreation in this area. To get there, Chesterfield has some responsibility. This property is owned by the state of Michigan. This property, this parcel, if all the cards fall into place, will be funded by the federal government. Something that has turned very controversial on this board, and I will continue to push it and push it and push it. We, as a township, need to commit to ensuring that that, after the investment is placed, doesn't turn back into this. We have to commit to removing and maintaining the invasive Phragmites in this area for this project to happen. If we don't commit to that, this doesn't happen. I will continue to push for what I have been pushing for, which is exploring every possible way. This is one location where there's Phragmites. That's an invasive species. Doesn't belong here. It is here, and it is wrecking the ecosystem not only in this area, but in our entire community. I will continue to push for ways to mow them. I will continue to find ways to burn them. We will continue to find ways, Kevin Johnson has done so much work on this, to flood them. And we will continue to use, I will continue to push to use spraying as necessary and compatible with the rules of that chemical. It is vital to remove the Phragmites. If we can find a way to do this in a non-spraying way, I am all ears, so long as it is financially feasible. I will not push back on this project, though, and not move forward with this project without putting every option on the table. And if spraying in accordance with the regulations of that chemical is the only way to get this done, I will continue to push that. After seeing if mechanical ways are feasible, after seeing if there any other ways are feasible. Too important. It's in the planning stage, and I am hopeful that this comes soon in the next couple of years. War Memorial back here. That was a familiar look out my window, and every day coming to work from 2016 to 2017. I think it was in that state since 2014, maybe early 13. I had a very difficult conversation with Angelo, who's probably out there working right now, and that was at the beginning of 2017. Angelo, we're looking, this can't happen. Like, I understand what's the history of this. It went back to 2010, 2014. Where are we at? Where's the funding? What's going on? Where's the bond on this project? Where's what does this look like? And I had a very difficult conversation that basically said, if there isn't significant advancement of this project, we're going to need to reclaim that piece, because I cannot have that sitting there for a decade like that. And it's already been there for half a decade. And I also made it very clear to him that we would help. I would help. I would help with fundraising. I would help him with the project management. I would help him with the coordination. 1 year later, 2018, that was the picture. This was a picture from last week of that war memorial. It's a dedication on May 26th, which is 9 days away, I believe, at 1400 hours. This facility will have a fallen comrade table and engraved plate settings for the 1st Battalion 24th Marines Regiment Memorial, and it is going to be fantastic. This table is unbelievable, and the vision of this location has come together, and I thank all of the volunteers out there. This is mostly done with volunteers, and a lot from our team, but the operating engineers, an individual named Kevin Zimmerman, and I don't want to name one person, but I am going to name him, for the last several weeks, all the dirt work and the months, and all volunteers by our labor partners, and many folks to allow this to happen. The rendering of what it's going to look like. Parking lot improvements are coming soon in that back portion. Thank you to Spalding DeDecker, who is one of our new design engineers as well. and to Pamela Hornberger, our state representative, for a grant to help with that portion of the parking. For all the employees who work here and all the residents who come here, the first portion of the parking lot that will be improved will be backed by the Veterans Memorial. We are looking at this entire facility with a PASER study through Spalding D. Decker to ensure that we're 10 years behind on starting to maintain this pavement and maintain our facilities. So now to do it all at once is not financially feasible. The PASER study is an investment that will ensure this piece might need a complete reconstruct. This piece might need a mill and fill to make sure that we can get this parking lot and this facility updated. We're also going to be relocating the cannon from the community center park to this location. And I will continue to ensure that this memorial continues to grow and be healthy and get better. And I think it's going to be, I know it's going to be a source of pride for Chesterfield. Our location to Selfridge, with their strength and the synergies there, the addition of the Northeast Veterans Facility, it is very clear how Chesterfield treats our heroes, and this is exactly where that facility, all these facilities belong, and I'm very proud of that. Abundant and safe recreational activities for all. That's a focus area. That is something that local government is charged with, and that team is doing an amazing job. Our general government team, that's the rest of us. To enhance the quality of life, environment, and safety of our residents, taxpayers, and employees in an atmosphere of courtesy, integrity, and quality service. That's what I ask. I ask us to accept responsibility, all of us in the Chesterfield team, for relentless customer satisfaction in a professional and courteous manner, and treating every customer as difficult as their situation is, in accordance with their personal needs and with courtesy. I feel, as a board and as the supervisor of this township, I need to provide you and our residents with clear processes and procedures. You're seeing them in the form of administrative procedure orders to make it very easy. These are designed to make our job more efficient. This is designed to make us better. This is designed to create a process that's easily findable, easily definable, and easily changeable if necessary. And I also believe it's important for us to continuously push for service improvements and best practices. One big area is professional service vendors, and we have done a lot of them. With a community like ours, when you have vendors that have been here, the same vendor for 20, 30, 40 years, without going out for RFQs and without analyzing that, you're destined to be left behind. Very, very hard work to take these vendors and design RFQs and to find the right partner. Tremendous amount of work in the last several years. One I do want to highlight though, and that is our single waste hauler vendor. Quick history, 2005, our township, and this is the reason why I want to highlight this. I said earlier, maybe it was an hour ago, and I apologize, that the second most call volume was on roads. The first biggest call volume that we get every week, every day, every month is on trash, on our single waste hauler provider service and what we do. 2005, our township, along with many other townships, voted to enact a single waste hauler program. This was a voter-initiated situation that started almost 15 years ago. The reasons at that point were to try to get one hauler. So instead of having 9 trucks a day down a road, you have one. That was the concept. There's 3, I guess, 1 for, I'll get to that. Rizzo Environmental became the vendor in 2005. I was in the Michigan legislature and didn't even have this position on my radar. 2008, it was extension. 2011, there was an extension. 2014, there was an extension. 2016, it rebranded. Rizzo rebranded to Green for Life after the unbelievably unfortunate situation surrounding this vendor with our community right in the bullseye. I presented to the board in 2018 that I think we owe it to our residents and our citizens to rebid this service for the first time in 13 years. Open it up to everybody, which we did. The board approved the contract with GFL last December. All of these vendors, I changed the way we deal with service vendors by putting together teams, qualification-based selection teams. Our service vendors, whether they're our attorney, our planning consultant, our consulting engineers, our single waste hauler contract supplier, along with all the other service vendors. These are partners, and these are not widgets. These are not something you can say lowest price. What you're looking for here is best value. What you're looking for here is best fit. What you're looking for here is the best in service and value to our taxpayers and residents. The goal of this team, I want to thank Kathy Vosberg, Trustee Demink, and those who did participate in this process. All of these processes, it's been difficult getting board participation from members to actually participating in this. It's hard, it's long, and at the end of the day, there's ownership. This team, I couldn't thank enough. Dean, his years of service from the assessing department, him being involved. Jody with my office, Kevin Johnson, I have this under Public Works and DPW as what focus area they would fall under. Ellen with the Treasurer's Office, along with Trustee Kathy Vosberg, who not only on this issue, but all issues is a solid rock for me in advice. Our goal was to procure a single waste hauler partner that will provide the best value to our residents and customers. This vendor must provide competitive pricing along with best practice customer services. I want to touch on containers. And I want to touch on, this isn't over. Like once we procure a vendor in this QBS system, whether it's this vendor or another vendor, the job's not done for another 20 years. The job's not done for another 2 years. The key is continuous best practice service improvements. What can we do to take a vendor, especially this one, that touches every resident 3 times a year in the summer, 2 times a year in the winter, over 2 million interactions with Green for Life and our residents every single year. Our work's not done with picking them. We got to continue to make it better. This team I'm charging with, well, let's look at what they provide and let's find a way to make it better. Right now I'm focusing on containers. You see a couple over here. One of them is a 96-gallon container. This is a recycle container. I will be presenting to the board an option in the very near future to deal with mixed waste containers to try to make this program better. I encourage everybody to participate now. Participate while we're trying to formulate what that looks like. Participate in how do we get these containers and improve this service now? Not when it's up in front of the board for approval. We had a very big process of updating our budget. Budget is a document that is the roadmap for a community. We not only updated the budget, but we updated the process. Finance Director Vicki Bauer and her team for putting this document together from what it was to what it is. I commend them. It has been submitted for a budget presentation award, and I'm awaiting for that result. The Treasurer's Office, 17,000 real parcels, over $60 million collected. Very important to know, we are the collection agency for all these other entities, whether it's the schools, the county, the other taxing agencies. Very small percentage of this money actually goes into Chesterfield Township. However, there we are again as a local unit of government being the tip of the sword. We collect it, we pass it along to the schools, we pass it along to the county, we pass it along to the various taxing agencies. 32,900 tax bills processed from this team. This is the most impressive one. 59,000, nearly 60,000 water bills processed by one person, Jessica Ashley. One individual. Thank you. And she does more than that as well. We are working with Water Department to talk about water bills, maybe move to some monthly billing and some automation. Purchase authorizations 400 to 600 a month, 28,000 counter transactions, 54,000 transactions via mail. The assessing department, this is the key. A trend up, taxable value. Now the income that comes from that lags due to Proposal A. Taxable value is $1.724 billion, 17,500 real parcels. With 1,144 personal property tax parcels, we have a very healthy mix of residential and commercial, industrial for our community. That is a healthy place for a community to be. Taxable value increased by 6% over 2018. This is the key. Without sustainable, steady, small growth, without us providing the opportunity through infrastructure, without us providing the opportunity through a competitive tax rate, this growth doesn't happen. And that's where the revenue comes from to provide the services that we are charged with providing. In closing, it's a puzzle, and we're all a piece of it, and every one of these areas is just as important as the next. We must provide safe streets. We must provide abundant and safe recreational activities for all. We're charged with that. We must provide public utilities that are reliable, safe, and dependable. We must provide a government that's efficient, constantly changing and pushing for best practices, and that's what our residents deserve. And we must be a competitive place for people to live, for people to invest in, and for people to want to call home, whether it's their business or their house. It's this team, the Chesterfield Township team, along with our partners.